Here is an energy update for June 2021. Get ready for what could be a very unusual month. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 main things that we need to focus on in June in order to shift the power away from the controllers and over to our side. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean. Let's talk about the upcoming energy in June of 2021. You know, it's kind of weird how the lockdowns and the masks and all that stuff seems to be kind of fizzling out a little bit in the US, and it's happening rather suddenly. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't resurrect it again later, but right now it seems very disorganized and kind of like things are starting to collapse a little bit in a good way. So right now we have a very important window to get the upper hand in our consciousness when it comes to the controllers and their nefarious agenda. I think June represents a major transition, but the question is, are we going to transition ourselves, or are we going to go unconscious and leave that up to the controllers? One thing that the past year and a half has taught us is that it's very dangerous to leave your perception of reality up to a bunch of psychopathic weirdos. So here's what we can do right now. It is most important that for this month of June, that we are very serious about getting our consciousness straight in terms of how we see all of this. Because how we see it is going to play a huge role in how things play out from here. So we need a major paradigm shift in June. We need to shift from seeing ourselves as the underlings when it comes to the controllers to being the more powerful force of energy in this picture. It's all about how we see ourselves in relation to them. Remember that they are all about mind control and about controlling our perception of reality. This absolutely must stop. We need to be accountable to ourselves for how we perceive reality. We have to take back control of our minds and our consciousness. Do you guys remember the scene at the end of the movie in The Wizard of Oz where that little man is exposed behind the curtain? Dorothy and her friends find out that this massive, scary controller, this big wizard that they were so intimidated by, was really just this little guy hiding behind a curtain, creating this whole fake reality that they had previously believed in and acted upon. We need a similar kind of moment, because if you think about that scene in the movie, what happened to Dorothy and her friends when they realized it was just this little guy behind a curtain? They had an instant, powerful paradigm shift in terms of how they saw themselves in relation to that guy, right? So we need a moment just like that right now in our experience. We need a very similar kind of paradigm shift. And June 2021 is our perfect time for this. So instead of us making these controllers seem bigger than life, we need to get perspective and see them for what they are. Now, I think that there are 3 main things that we need to focus on in June, starting right now. The first thing that we need to do is to cut our psychic cords to the controllers of this planet. We need to cut our metaphysical relationship to them. That has to end immediately. That is the first step in restoring our sovereignty. Now, if you are harboring any beliefs that you chose to come here and engage in this horrifying excuse for a relationship with these guys, then I invite you to say goodbye to that belief right now. Unless, of course, you like that belief, in which case you are always welcome to keep it. And I'm pretty sure the controllers will thank you for maintaining that belief, because it actually serves them just perfectly. Now, once we end this toxic relationship on a metaphysical level, then we have the freedom to get to know ourselves as we really are, as cosmic human creators. It's time for us to take command of how we choose to identify ourselves and not leave that up to the evil people and malevolent extraterrestrials who see us as their property. It's time to make a conscious statement that we are no longer their property and we are no longer their slaves. That deal is over. Now, the second thing that we need to do is to position ourselves as galactic citizens, because that is already a true fact. We live in this galaxy, therefore we are automatically galactic citizens. Our biggest problem is that we don't acknowledge that to ourselves. Part of positioning ourselves as galactic citizens is to acknowledge what has been done to us. But we have to acknowledge it from a position of power, not weakness and insecurity. See, unless we can acknowledge what has been done by these controllers, it's going to be more difficult to make a solid, clear choice about where to go from here. See, we want to fully understand where we've been in order to be able to make a very clear choice about going somewhere else. Otherwise, we risk remaining in a perpetually muddled state of confusion and unconsciousness. Now, when I say go somewhere else, I mean go somewhere else in our consciousness and in how we see all of this. That's where we need to start. Now, the controllers have made sure to keep us dumbed down and ignorant about our true place in the cosmos. They want us to believe that this planet is all we have. That is how they keep us desperate and obedient. Meanwhile, they travel all over the galaxy and beyond, and they know full well that Earth is not all there is in terms of intelligent life. So we are going to have to use our intuition and our higher intelligence to reclaim the knowledge that they have stolen from us. Now, these first two things that I mentioned are extremely powerful, and working on those two things will prepare us for the third thing we need to focus on, which is to prepare for the potential of extraterrestrial disclosure. Now, there is something very strange going on behind the scenes when it comes to this topic. So let's see if we can simplify it. We already know about the potential for a fake alien invasion, but I want to suggest that we not get too cavalier and overly confident about this possibility. Because if we do, we might get a little bit too unconscious and miss something important. Now, I recently watched an interview between Linda Moulton Howe and John Brandenburg, who is a plasma physicist, and this interview took place on May 8th. John Brandenburg works for a company that provides technology for the military and defense industries, and he seems to be very, very familiar with all of the UFO cover-ups. Now, Linda wanted to get his opinion about the upcoming UFO report from the Pentagon that is supposed to be delivered to the Congress this June. Now, here's the crazy thing, you guys. This guy was making a great case, unwittingly, for a fake alien invasion. But it's a little bit more complicated. Apparently, the congressional investigators are not getting the cooperation they need from the Pentagon, and now the Inspector General is having to step in. John Brandenburg said there has been warfare among the intelligence agencies and the military branches on the subject of disclosure since Roswell, which was in the 40s. Now, here's where it gets very interesting. He said that there is a group of people in the government who think it is in the best interests of the United States and of humanity to get full disclosure. But then he said there are other people in the government and the military or wherever they are who don't want anything disclosed until, check this out, you guys, until after doomsday. That's the actual word he used, doomsday, which I kind of assume refers to the so-called alien invasion scenario. Still can't get over the fact that he used the word doomsday. Anyway, here's the really crazy part. He claims that we are in a very dangerous situation when it comes to the extraterrestrials. He said it's possible that there are 2 or more races who might want to take over this planet. And then Linda asked him this question. She said, well, how do you think we can prepare ourselves for disclosure? Are you guys ready for this? What I'm about to share with you is an exact quote from John Brandenburg. He said, if you want to understand what the government is dealing with, you should watch a bunch of Hollywood movies like Independence Day and War of the Worlds. He said, just watch them. That's how you prepare for disclosure. Now, those are exact quotes, guys, because I wrote them down and memorized exactly what he said. So there it is. That sounds like the exact blueprint for a fake alien invasion. But wait a second. Here's why I think we need to pay very close attention. I was a bit disturbed by his very clear use of the word doomsday. Now, we know that they already have secret, highly advanced technology and weapon systems that could easily pass for extraterrestrial technology because it was actually taken from extraterrestrial craft, or maybe even given to them by extraterrestrials in some kind of a secret government deal. In any case, we pretty much know that they already have it. Here's a concern that I have. I have a concern that they might actually use that technology against people and maybe even kill a whole bunch of people on this planet and make it look like the aliens did it. I know that sounds insane, but guys, we already know these controllers don't have any problem killing a bunch of people. I mean, that's obvious because they do it all the time with fake wars and all kinds of stuff like that. See, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I don't think they're going to get a whole lot of traction just by flying some of their military spaceships around, because people might actually think that was really cool. And that would, of course, defeat their entire purpose of fear. So I don't know if they're going to take that chance. Because see, this really is their final card to play if they choose to go through with this. I mean, if you think about what John Brandenburg said about doomsday and watch Independence Day to prepare yourself, they might want to create something that is way bigger than 9/11 and 1,000 times more frightening. Is that what he meant when he used the word doomsday? See, the thing I most noticed in this interview with John Brandenburg is he said these things with a tremendous amount of certainty. It wasn't like, oh, maybe this or maybe that. He was really certain when he said those very strategic things about Doomsday and Independence Day and prepare by watching Independence Day. And so now we have the mainstream media really ramping things up. They are absolutely framing extraterrestrial disclosure as being about a threat. They use the word threat over and over and over again. That suggests a very specific intent to program our minds and our perception. So we have to we want to be like detectives. Now, I want to present you with another interesting possibility. If this is all meant to be fake, then I'm asking myself, how is it that Stephen Greer would be all over the place warning about this with no pushback and no censoring at all? Why are they letting him do that? Why are they letting him spill the beans about the whole thing? And think about this. Who is that really affecting? Well, it's primarily affecting those of us who are already pretty comfortable with the idea of extraterrestrials. In fact, we are so comfortable that we are already using terms like get out the popcorn, which means we're kind of viewing ourselves as spectators at what we're almost thinking of as like a comedy show. But think about this, you guys. What are spectators? Spectators are passive. They're just passive observers. They're not not really engaged. So is it possible that they're doing this to intentionally make us passive so that we don't prepare ourselves and take this a lot more seriously? Now, I don't know, of course, if that's true or not, but I just found it really unusual that no one's trying to stop Stephen Greer from putting this out in public in a huge, major way. And then there is another possibility for the potential of a fake alien invasion scenario. They might also want to turn us against any potentially benevolent ETs who actually want to openly help us. See, if we become so terrorized that we completely shut down our hearts and our minds to benevolent extraterrestrial forces, then we don't have any chance of getting any help. So my larger point about this whole thing is this. As funny as it sounds, it could actually get very complicated. So I think it's fine to laugh at the controllers' stupidity and at their ridiculousness, but we also have to remember how incredibly dangerous they can be. We don't want to just go unconscious just because they're so weird. If they actually try to pull this off in a dangerous way that actually hurts a lot of people, or worse, then those of us who are truly awake about this subject, we are going to be needed. We could end up being the only level-headed people around, not only to help those who are being terrorized, but also, most importantly, to be able to remain in communication with any positive extraterrestrials who may want to come to our aid openly at some point in the future. So overall, the most important thing for us in June is to position ourselves with an intention not to be so caught off guard by these controllers anymore. I mean, we just can't afford that. I think that the energy of June is inviting us to step into the power of who we really are once and for all. So just to review those 3 things that I think we need to focus on in June, step 1 is to permanently cut all of our psychic cords to these controllers and end our metaphysical relationship with them. Step 2 is to position ourselves as galactic citizens instead of as earthbound slaves. And step 3 is to prepare ourselves for extraterrestrial disclosure and to stay awake and aware about whatever the controllers have planned next for this planet. So my overall sense of June is that this is going to be a very, very powerful month. It's a month of transition. I don't have the feeling that the controllers really have their act together right now. I think certain things are unraveling. I think they're in a very unstable position right now. So that, you guys, is a powerful opening for those of us who are light workers, way showers, starseeds, and awakening people overall to really come into who we are, to take our power back, to make a stand for who we actually are in this galaxy and in this universe, and to have the powerful intention that we are going to stop this sick, toxic relationship, that we're going to end it. And hey, here's another cool idea. How about if we actually surprise them with the fact that we are awake enough to actually begin using our power at metaphysical levels, so we meet them where they are and beyond where they are? Wouldn't that be the biggest shock of all for these guys? I think that would just be an awesome intention for the month of June. So let's take any feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, confusion. Let's just kind of shed all of that like it's just a bunch of old clothes, an old cloak that we don't need anymore. Let's just shed that cloak of uncertainty and insecurity and emerge as the powerful cosmic creators, beings of light, infinite beings of light who are fundamentally indestructible in our true nature. Let us emerge awake and aware so that we can be seen by all of them and really just surprise the heck out of them, okay? That's just sort of a cool vision that has been coming to me lately. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would find this interesting. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy, and I so look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.